Good morning. I just wanted to start off again by thanking my patrons who have contributed generously on my Patreon at www.patreon.com/Rabbi I like free things, and I'm sure you do as well. This podcast and these YouTube videos will always remain free for you, but they're not free for me. And although we managed to recoup the costs that I initially sunk into this, we do have to pay for the podcast hosting services and for storage. And therefore, if you regularly listen to the podcast and would like to contribute, then your efforts will be literally keeping the podcast going. So thank you very much to those who have already become patrons. Again, even $3 a month will help me a long way. All the more so $5, $10 and upwards. So I really appreciate your generosity, and I will keep this going as long as I can. Thank you. Alrighty, we are up to 1823. Tachanunim yedaber rosh v'ashir yane azos. Simple statement. Okay, so how do you translate that?
Supplications will speak poor.
Yeah. No, grammatically make it make sense.
Tachanunim, supplications will speak poorly.
No. Yedaber.
He will speak?
Yeah.
Oh, so he will speak. Oh, the poor person will speak supplications.
There you go. Good. So a poor person will speak supplications. V'ashir ya'ane azos.
And the rich person will answer with strength.
And a rich person will answer. So I guess there are two meanings, right? So one is like you're saying, is strongly, right? And then I don't know actually whether azos and azus are synonyms. Obviously they come from the same word, but what if it means azus, then it means brazenly, right? Brazenly. You have Isaac, do you have your Mikros Godolos, or you need? Okay, there you go. We're on 1823. Yeah. Okay. So a poor person will speak supplications, and a rich person will answer strongly or brazenly. If you look at מצודת ציון, he says azos is chazakos v'kashos. Okay. So I guess strongly, harshly, or brazenly. So I have to add in harshly. And then Sadigon says tachanunim timsa shaharash medaber b'tachanunim v'ha'ashir ba'oz. So he's adding timsa. So what is why does he add that? What is that clarifying? What's the ambiguity in the Hebrew that he's trying to remove?
These are context in the pasuk. Maybe he's just saying it's a general phenomenon.
Oh, so he's definitely saying it's a general phenomenon, right? But I do think that there's an ambiguity that you could read the pasuk another way, that this is not describing a phenomenon.
That they should do this?
Yes, that they should do this, right? So this question, the ambiguity is, in the future tense in Hebrew, it's either it could be prescriptive or this could be descriptive, right? So he's saying, don't read this as the poor person should speak supplications and the rich person should seek should speak harshly. Isaiah, sorry, I don't have an extra one for you because Isaac didn't bring it. No, I'm just kidding. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So and their arm of harshly, we take it that way. Okay. And then the Targum, I think, is just straight up translation. Tachanune nemalel miskana v'atira nemalel ashinasa. So supplications, the poor person will speak. Miskein is a poor person. And then the atira, rich person, nemalel ashinasa, will speak strongly. Okay, so we could get rid of that. And then I'll just read you the English here. Our scroll says, a pauper utters supplications, but a rich one responds with brazen words. Okay, that's actually, that's another thing, by the way, also. I mean, we translate it this way, but ya'aneh answers.
Right, so you're going to fix it out.
Yeah, right. As Yeah, he doesn't even bother, right? Just ba'os. Okay, and then living nata, the poor man speaks supplicatingly, which according to my Microsoft Word dictionary is not a word, but whatever. But the rich man answers harshly. Okay, fine, that's normal. And then Alter says, imploringly speaks the poor man, and the rich man answers harshly. Okay, so I think the translation is fairly straightforward here.
Microsoft Word dictionary is not always correct.
No, it's not. Yeah, especially if you're using the 2007 edition, which I'm still using. Pause this for 1 second here. Pause recording. All right, so what are the questions here?
Rushman a poor person, right?
Yeah, Rush is a poor person. I'm actually going to write the other translation just in case we go that way. So even though Sadigon doesn't go that way, a poor person should speak supplications, and a rich person should respond in those ways. I think that's a little harder because of the second half.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like Azos is good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll default to the first translation as descriptive.
Who are they talking to?
Yeah. Who are they talking to? And I think there are two categorical possibilities.
Each other?
Yeah.
Or third party?
Each other or a third party. Good.
Or third party and fourth party.
Yes. Third party and fourth party. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think we'll use third party in the sense of like, yeah.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a party.
That's true.
What does wealth have to do with how they speak?
Yeah. What does their economic situation have to do with how they speak?
What is like speaking supplicatingly or harshly like mean in like a practical sense? Like
Yeah.
Is-
How, I mean, like, what is it? What's the definition of it? Yeah. What does it mean? What does it mean to speak supplicatingly or harshly? Yeah.
Harshly especially is like very vague. It
Yeah.
could be like it could be positive like deceiving but just in like a harsh tone, or like, you know, it could be harsh facts. Like,
Yeah. So I guess those are two actually good, I think, categorical possibilities. Is this referring to tone or content?
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Tone / manner, I guess, or content. Yeah, I'll just say manner because tone is part of the manner. What's the problem according to Sadigon saying that this is descriptive? I think there's like a problem that arises.
What's the purpose of the
Yeah, right. Is it, if it's saying you should do this, so then like we can then that's speaking in practical decision-making terms, you know, but according to Sadigon, so I guess so this is our normal question. What is the practical application of this pasuk? But then I'm going to add, especially if you translate it as a description.
But if you translate it as a comparative thing that you should do, then I understand that a poor person should supplicate because that could like get them what they need.
Yeah.
But why should a rich person?
Yeah, that's the difficult thing. Yeah, that's the difficult. So I'll add that question also. So if you translate the pasuk as an imperative, why should the rich person speak harshly? Yeah. Okay, I feel like this is and then our normal question of who is the audience. I mean, if it's an imperative, then the audience would be both of those people, right? But if it's descriptive, then it's not clear.
Is it an usher in money or an usher in Torah?
Learn Rashi much? Yeah. Descriptive. Yeah. Yeah, it is a thing, by the way, that they do say there's a chazal that they quote in Mishlei, the Mefarshim quote in Mishlei a lot. I don't know where the chazal is, that ein oni ela b'das. There's no poverty except in mind. that. So when it's talking about ani, then it is a common interpretation to refer to someone who's ignorant, and then someone who's rich is someone who has knowledge.
Wait, that's a Mishlei pasuk?
It's not a Mishlei pasuk. I think it's a statement of Chazal.
Okay.
Yeah, but the Mishlei Mefarshim quoted a lot. Yeah, Ein Ani Ela B'das.
Got it.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's Ein Ani or Ein like Oni. I don't know if it's there's no poverty or no poor person, but it's a similar thing. Okay, so what are the ideas? I guess we just have to start off probably with what does their economic situation have to do with how they speak, because that's going to be a question according to whatever way you translate the pasuk. And then we have to figure out, is this descriptive or prescriptive? So I think descriptive is going to be the more natural way to go. So let's start with that then.
Right. Yeah. So I'm gonna just think of the easier part.
Yeah.
First half of the pasuk.
Yeah.
That a poor person in general will speak supplicatingly to like try to get what they need, because they they need to get something from someone else in order to be able to survive.
Yeah.
And so they want to make sure that they don't accidentally offend the person and then not get what they need.
Right. Yeah. So they are in a situation of need, which that's what supplication really is in general, is like you're asking for something. I don't think you can speak supplicatingly if you're not asking for something. So he's going to be asking, and then he has to do it in a supplicating. So I think that actually indicates that he's speaking in a supplicating manner, because if you said it's the content, then it's obvious he's going to speak supplication because he's poor, So like he has to speak in a supplicating manner so you're saying so that to prevent a negative, so that he doesn't say something that would cause the person to withhold from him.
Yeah. Or even the fact that you said that made me think of also the positive, which
right.
is that it might be people more inclined to give.
Right, is you're putting the other person in a position of, you're highlighting their position of prominence or power or ability, and it's kind of playing to their ego in a way that please sir, can I have some more? Is like the you're putting them in the position of power. You're not saying give me. That's not supplicatingly. Yeah. Okay. Good. So that I think that's, again, just methodology point here is sometimes when you have something that seems obvious, if you articulate the obviousness, then you actually get somewhere. So that was a good articulation of obvious. Okay. So then Asher Yane Azos. So that's hard to understand now. So now I think we have to tackle our first question: are they talking to each other or a third party?
I think each other.
Okay, so now that makes it sound like the usher's a bad guy, right?
Well,
It depends on how you say Azos, though, right?
I actually haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
If we say Azos is he doesn't need to speak he doesn't need to sugarcoat his words.
That's also true.
And also because he doesn't need anything from the Anilus.
Yeah.
So when he's speaking to him, he can speak straight.
Yeah.
And I even think that sort of helps the social interaction, because it doesn't make him seem like a needy person. So the Ani will continue to recognize him as a potential source of sustenance.
That's interesting. So it's the picture I'm getting here is there are certain roles that the Ani and the Usher slip into that facilitates that exchange, So the Ani, the way that the Ani does it, for practical reasons, like Isaac said, is because that's how you're going to get the best results. But then the Ashir doesn't need to speak in that way. And you're saying that by him responding in the way that he was addressed by the poor person, then that's the part I'm not getting. Is then what?
Was one of the ways that we were translating others with strength?
With strength, yeah.
Yeah. So he's responding in a way
firmly, I guess would be the translation if you're gonna say with strength.
Yeah. So the manner in which he's responding is one that highlights his power and ability to get.
Right. But we've seen that the poor person needs to speak with supplications. Are we saying that there's an equal need for the rich person to speak with Azos, or is it just that it's natural to him?
It would seem that maybe an egotistical need, but not a real need.
Yeah, not a practical need, like the Ani. Yeah.
Because he doesn't need anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
No need in the situation.
Yeah. So that's slightly bothering me because of the asymmetry in the pasuk. The pasuk like suggests that there is a symmetry here. You don't have to say that, but just the form of the pasuk is like that, you know. So yeah.
The only thing I can think of is if you don't portray yourself as like a person who is like able to like is like strong and like is able to give, then like why would an Ani come to you? Sort of like it doesn't like if you portray yourself in the same way as Ani does, then the Ani's not going to ask you for food.
Right. So this is not like a problem with what you're saying, but that almost seems to be a thing where prior to the Ani asking you for stuff, then you need to be a person who conducts himself with this type of strength. And the pasuk is describing a response to the Ani, you know. So again, it's not a problem because you could say, well, this happens a lot. And so like, because the rich person continually responds this way, then he'll be someone who the poor people come to. Yeah. Like it'd be nice if Yona is like an essential part of the idea because it doesn't just use, like it could have easily used I mean, look, okay, I'll play both sides. It could have easily just used another synonym for Yadaber, right? But then you could say that wouldn't depict them talking to each other, you know? So maybe Yona is only there just because they're talking to each other, and then you could still say what you said.
You said that the pasuk it might be slightly different, but you said the pasuk is talking to the Ani, and it's saying that you should like talk in supplicating ways to get food, and like it shouldn't bother you when
okay.
shiur is responding.
Okay, that's interesting. So
that's how you find the things practical.
Yeah, right. So the strength of this idea is a good practical idea that you need to speak in a supplicating way, and you shouldn't be deterred by a harsh response because that's to be expected. Okay, we didn't say why, but like whatever. You know, maybe he's egotistical, maybe like he likes feeling powerful, maybe he's just doesn't want to be bothered. You know, the only weakness, and this is not like a knockout like problem, is that then it's just a little weird that the pasuk is stated with a symmetry because then it's like okay, I'll say the weird thing and then I'll answer it. Okay, so the weird thing is then it sounds like you're saying the poor person should speak with supplication and the rich person will respond, but I think you could say it is just description that the poor person will speak with supplication and the rich person will speak harshly, meaning that it's just telling you as a poor person, this is what's going to happen. Meaning don't feel like the fact that you get a harsh response is indicative that you made a mistake or that you are like not speaking properly. No, this is the way it's going to go. The nature of poor people is that they have to speak in a supplicative way, right? And then the nature of rich people is that they're going to respond harshly. So yeah, that's a good idea. Right. So let's just extend that to other circumstances, I think. Okay, because I feel like that does extend past this is like an example of a larger phenomenon. Yeah.
I just want to clarify, when you are using just to mean harshly, you're taking it out of firm, right? Or are you equating this?
I'm saying harshly just simply because the Metzudas ציון says kashos, like yidaber kashos as opposed to like yidaber rakos, which is like tone or manner. So I'm not saying firmly for this idea.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that they were.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't Yosef and his brothers, doesn't that phrase come up like he spoke with us kashos? Okay, fine. Yeah.
They used every single word in the
Yeah. I caught myself realizing like, this is like a little bit of a deja vu thing. Yeah. Yeah. So I think you could extend this though to other cases of speech where there are norms and you might be intimidated because the norm is not pleasant. Okay, for example, now we'll go to Rashi. Okay, look at Rashi. Rashi says, Tachanuni midaber Rash, derech ze b'kach v'derech ze b'kach. Okay, so that supports what you're saying, Zev, right? It's like, this is just the way, okay? Limedecha derech eretz. So it's teaching you, derech eretz here is the way of the world, right? So I don't know if that means like midos or whatever. Ashir yane azos v'harashi daber tachanuni. That the rich person will speak harshly and the poor person will speak tachanuni. V'chein le'inyan hara v'hatamid. right? Same thing with the Rav and the Talmud. So Rashi's doing this move also, he's expanding it. Like if you are, like I'm sure you're familiar with this from being a Talmud in shiurim of like with a Rav, like there's a certain there's often a certain harshness part of the Rav of like either rejecting your svara or your question or like whatever, and like that could be an intimidating factor. But if you walk into it with the mentality of like, this is what the form of discourse looks like here, then like you can kind of brush it off and not let that impact your willingness to speak or your choice of content. Like for example, like let's say for example, you're in a shiur and you're going to give a svara and you have a very harif like Rav. So if you walk into it with the assumption that I'd better speak in a certain way to avoid the harsh response, you might not say enough, or you might not be as clear, or you might not be as direct, or you might not be as firm, and that'll change your actual way that you speak. But if you say, look, this is just going to happen, like he's just going to respond harshly no matter what, it doesn't mean that you should throw caution to the wind, but it does help you get over that little hurdle of I'm afraid of the response and there is a way to avoid it. But if this is just the way that the discourse happens, then you can take care to make your statement, you could craft your statement on its own terms and just take it as a given that this type of response may happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say to an extent though, because I think the reason teachers teach that way is to train their students to speak sharply and to not just, speak on a whim, to actually think their ideas through and not just suggest any Jeopardy story that happens to come to mind.
Right.
Think it through. Does it make sense? Rip yourself apart in your head. Don't make me do it.
Yeah.
So to then just basically ignore that.
Yeah.
It's counterproductive almost.
So I disagree, because I think what you're talking, I agree with your premise that's why a lot of Revim talk this way. That's for systemic considerations, meaning that they want to train Talmidim to have a certain, not just running off their mouth and just saying whatever comes to their mind. But at the same time, then if you are in that position, you still have to contend with this phenomenon of it feels bad when I get a harsh response. Mm-hmm. And I can't let that stop me from speaking or make a bad thing. In other words, it should still give you pause, to think about what you're going to say before you say it, but it shouldn't be an obstacle or an intimidation factor. Yeah. There's a great story. Hold on just a second. I gotta pause this. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the Rביnu Yona. I happened to glance at it right before shiur. So I think Zach, your idea is good. I think that's I don't think we need to say anything more for that, right? I think it's a complete idea. Any? Yeah.
Restate again.
Yeah.
In certain circumstances where there's some sort of power balance or societal imbalance or unusual structure.
Yeah.
The nature of that structure itself can produce unpleasant responses or feedback, and if going into this that's going to happen, then don't let that deter you, because that's just how it works.
Yeah, meaning, and maybe just to address Joe's question in a more direct way, don't let that deter you. Other things might deter you, and even that might even be why the person speaks that way, but don't let the negative feelings of the harsh words deter you. Think, is it worth saying? Am I saying it correctly? Am I being too hasty? Think of all those things. And just another example, by the way, is you take people who just have a very, I'm sure in government who have a very, or politics who have a very harsh way of talking. So I'm thinking let's say Trump, Lyndon B. Johnson, people who are known for being very and I'm sure the people who are in their inner circles who need to bring up stuff that they're going to respond harshly with, I'm sure they could easily let this deter them. And if you just have this in mind, okay, this is just how this guy talks, then it's easy to get, then you that awareness can let you not be intimidated. I have to mute this for another example. Hold on. So this is just a good.
But is there a reason that it's the pasuk that uses this relationship?
I think so, and I think it might be. Hold on. Is the next pasuk? Yeah, never mind. So he's right. Yeah, that'll be something. And then what was the previous one? Previous one was Mata Ish Mata Tova. Yeah. Okay, fine. So can't answer based on the context. I don't know. Maybe it's just because this is a case that comes up a lot. I'm not sure. This is a legitimate question, but I don't know. All right, let's look at the Rבינו Yona because I think this is another good idea. Rבינו Yona Chaf Gimel, completely different approach.
I think it really does exemplify this thing. Like,
yeah.
Almost universally, this is the dynamic between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, Rבינו Yona says, oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read from the Al Torah version, so you can tell me if you see something different and I could send a correction. All right, got to help the project. Okay, 23.
Haven't I used the staff yet?
Not yet. Tachanunim davar rash. V'gomer haresh v'haoni gnai la'adam. So poverty and poverty are a degradation to a person. Ki yavienu l'daber tachanunim u'lahashpil nafsho labrios. Because it will bring him to speak supplicatingly and to lower himself to people, and to flatter them, and fear of people and flattery are imperfections of the soul, or like degradations of the soul. And being dependent on people is a degradation. Okay, so that's bad. The ashir yane azus, and a wealthy person will respond harshly. Also, from wealth, a person will come to a bad midah. Ki yosif azos benafsho. He will increase the brazenness of his soul. Below yevosh midaber kashos, and he will not be aimed from speaking harshly. Gam yis akesh b'dvarav. He'll be stubborn with his words. V'yavuz l'divrei hachokim al dvarav, and he'll mock or like disparage the people who differ with him. Kasher kasav, as it is written. Chacham be'enav ish ashir. A rich person is wise in his own eyes. Gam ki yakir ha'emes. And even when he recognizes the truth, lo yifna elav, he will not submit to it. Lahodos alav, to admit that it's right. V'yikashe rucho, I don't know, lahami devarav, and he'll make himself stubborn in order to preserve his words. Okay, so you got bad qualities on both sides. Hine ki hashiflus v'divri tachanunim ha'magiyim ha'oni meguna. So the lowliness and the supplicating words that come from poverty are despicable, disgraceful. V'chein ga'ava v'anus azus ha'magiyim ha'osher hu meguna. And the haughtiness and the tendency to respond harshly that comes from wealth, that's also despicable. This is what is said later on in Mishlei, where he says, I'll just click on this here. Is this Shlomo HaMelech, or is this Algar ben Yakeh, who presumably is Shlomo HaMelech, says, Shav udvar chazav harchech mimeni. Shav, falsehood, and lies, distance from me. Reish va'osher al titain li. Don't give me poverty and don't give me wealth. Hatrifeni lechem chuki. Give me my daily bread. So he's asking to not be wealthy or poor. And then Rבינו Yona ends off, Ki ha'oni va'osher mevi'in lidei chet. Because wealth and poverty bring you to chet. Okay, so according to this, it's descriptive. And the practical implication has to do with, I guess, a person, person doesn't want to be poor because they're going to have needs, that they have to take care of, and it's going to create practical obstacles. And a person wants to be rich because they can take care of it. But I think what the pasuk is telling you, I'm just shortcutting because I have to leave in a minute. I think what the pasuk is telling you, according to this, is socioeconomic status can actually engender bad midos in you. Meaning, just the fact that you are wealthy will cause certain character traits to seep in, and just because you're poor, it'll cause a certain lowliness of the soul, And I think when people think about wealth and poverty, they think about the benefits and the detriments, but they don't often think about the fact that it'll change your character in ways just because you're going to be accustomed to doing certain things, So I don't know if this is davka about these two sets of midos, but it is something to be aware of, that if you find yourself becoming rich, or if you go into a profession where you're going to be rich, or vice versa, you have to be aware that these are going to be certain midos that are gonna like start to just creep into your character because of the way that your social interactions are often going to go, And I do think it applies to other cases as well. Like, again, if you're a politician, you're going to start having a tendency of flattering people, because that's how politicians climb the social ladder, you know, or if you're an actor or an actress, then you're going to, I'm sure that affects their relationships. You know, they're very good at mimicking, you know, emotions in an authentic looking way. So it's gonna be hard to not do that in a personal relationship because you're so good at it, you know. So like, just be aware of the types of mitos that, or let's say, like my dad always says that you know, my dad was an anesthesiologist, and he says, like, surgeons are the most arrogant people in the entire hospital because they're the ones who like are saving the lives and stuff. And like, if you're a surgeon, you're going to be going into surgery. That doesn't sound right. Going into the surgeontude, then you have to be aware that you might start to develop those mitos. Yeah.
Who did you say was Shlomo?
Agur ben Yaakeh. It's his nickname in the beginning of chapter 30.
Oh.
Or it's someone else named Agur ben Yaakeh, but presumably it's Shlomo. Agur is another word for Koheles. Ogur.
Oh.
Yeah. And ben Yaakeh means the son of the vomiter. Son of the vomiter, the regurgitator. Yeah, because he regurgitated his wisdom.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
in a good way. Yeah. All right, let's stop here for today.